Hi, my name's Lola, and today's video is my February vlog. So in February, I intend to read all of this. I did already start on The Great Hunt. I'm a little less than halfway through it. This is The Push by, I forgot her name, but that's the one that I'm currently reading right now. Then we've got The Monster of Eldenhaven, Harrow the Ninth, Gregor the Overlander, a book that I loved as a kid and I'm very excited to reread as an adult, and The Wolf and the Woodsman. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. I will also kind of be dealing with applying to grad school and figuring out like work and life and school and reading schedule. So there's no real guarantee that I will get through all of these, but it is the goal. And other than that, no real plans for February, so we'll just see how it goes. All right, it's February 1st and my parents have finally left my home. I love them, but they were here since the beginning of December. I ended up having to leave work early because they couldn't get an Uber to go to the airport, so I had to bring them to the airport. So now I'm home early and I can get some stuff done. So the goal is to do like laundry, but also to do a couple other things. So let me show you.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I'm not falling, I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going life. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay.
Good evening. I'm currently reading The Push by Ashley something. I cannot believe that I thought this book was sci-fi. I think maybe when I was like watching YouTube videos around the time Goodreads was doing all their awards and everything, I got confused with which award this one was nominated for and which one it won. Anywho's, the book starts off with a woman who is sitting outside of a home, looking at a family. I'm assuming that the family she's looking at is her husband, who is now remarried, and her daughter and her son are in that new home with the new wife. And now she has like a manuscript, and I guess what we're reading is what she wrote, and it's her side of the story. And her side of the story so far is about how she loved being with him, how she was so excited to have her first child with him, and it's sounding really like adorable, but it's definitely not going to be because this is a mystery thriller. So we'll see how that goes. I was a little thrown off with how it's written in like second person, which doesn't happen a lot. Like, she says like, I remember how you looked when you went to this, or how happy you were that we were going to try and have a child. Like, I guess it's maybe not second person. It's technically first person because she says I, but then she was constantly saying you. So I was a little thrown off at first as like, what the fuck is this perspective? But now it makes more sense. Yuna. Hi, baby. Good morning. It's Sunday, and I finished reading The Push yesterday. Basically, it's about a woman who starts a family, right? Has her first child. It's a daughter. Her name is Violet, and she can't stop being suspicious that her daughter might be evil. But no one believes her. Her husband doesn't believe her. No one wants to believe that a child has the capacity to be cruel, to be manipulative, and to not love their mother. My journey with this book was rocky, I guess. So I liked it from the start. I liked the way that it was written. I think that the prose in itself added on to the whole story. It is a little crass, especially when like you start a chapter and it's describing like just, you know, they're fucking, he's looking at her vagina, milky tits, like those are words that come up in the book. So that sometimes was a little rough, but still it was part of the story, so it wasn't completely unfounded, basically. So it is a mystery thriller, but it's almost hard to actually feel the mystery thriller part because it really reads a lot like a literary book, since it focuses on Blythe, the mother, struggling with, is my daughter psychotic or am I going crazy? Why does no one believe me? I swear to God I saw this. So a lot of it doesn't feel like a mystery thriller up until the very end. As I read the book, I felt like I was journeying with Blythe and really just feeling for her because, man, her husband is a dick. Her daughter is a fucking spawn of Satan. And the book basically sets it up where you're actually not sure if her child is the problem or if she is the problem, because there's a history from her grandmother's side, her mother's side, of essentially not really loving their children. So the book makes this kind of duality between, is the mom crazy or is she right? Is the daughter crazy? I personally, from the very beginning, knew the daughter was fucking nuts. So yeah, that was not a surprise to me. But what was a surprise, I think, were certain things that happened. For example, her daughter pushing the baby stroller into the street. I did not expect that to happen in the book. I really didn't, because as much as children who are malicious, who their brains aren't developed the same as others, and probably cannot have the same sort of emotional attachments, etc., like that happens. It's not often, and you know, at that point parents need to accept that their children are not going to be perfect, but usually it never goes that far. So this book really pushes things to an extreme. Throughout my whole read, it felt like a good solid 3-star book. The ending bumped it up to like 4 for me because damn, that ending was good. Just so malicious. And this book just really kind of, if you're ever pondering, maybe I should have my own kid, read the book. Just read the book, because it'll help. It'll help with your decision making. And that's not to say like it'll help because you'll be scared to have a devil child. that's not it. It's because this book goes into so many details of what it means to be a mother, childbirth, dealing with, you know, the fact that you have no fucking time, the fact that you feel like your life is just sucked out of you because you can't sleep, because you're not eating properly, because your baby, you just like, what the fuck are you? So, yeah, if you're ever wondering if you want kids, read this book first. It'll it'll give you the other side of motherhood, where it's like it's not all fluffy rainbows. It's also ripped vagina, anus, and organ blood flowing for days, and your nipples hurting, and just, yeah, I would almost say that it's body horror, but it's not. It's just, it's natural. That's childbirth. That is motherhood. Motherhood is a fucking horror book. It was a really good read. I'm very happy that I read it, and I'm very excited on Monday to meet with my book club virtually to talk about it, because I'm curious what others thought about it. All right, so I got home early today from work because it was a professional development day, so there were no kids, and we had to leave the building because I had to do some kind of inspection or something. But I got home and I got packages. I got Book of the Month and my Witch's Moon box. Witch's Moon is a subscription box for people who are into kind of, you know, Wiccan or just pagan in general. And Book of the Month, I did pick a chonker for this month. I want to go through my Witch's Moon first. I'm not going to go into like huge details for everything. All right, there's a lot of stuff in these boxes usually, so I'll just kind of go through it quickly, but you do get like a oracle for the month. It's specialized for your own box. Everyone gets a different one. Then there's like a long pamphlet with a bunch of information, so I usually read this after. We've got the salt, sacred salt, frankincense. Oh, hell yeah, I love the smell of frankincense. Sandalwood, like little incense. I don't even know what those ones are called because it's not a stick. I don't know, incense cone. A cone. Oh, candle. Wow. Oh my god. Oh. Okay. This month's candle is covered in herbs and it smells amazing, but it is like a hand-rolled wax candle. Wow. Yeah, I'm leaving it in the bag. Oh my gosh, if it's what I think it is. Oh, maybe not? Oh, I'm so confused. Okay, I will build this after. Myrgum. Okay. Benzoicum. Okay. Oh, I'm so confused by everything. Art prints. Oh, hey, they're making the prints. Wow, there's a lot. There's a lot of prints this time. Yeah, Ostara Essential Oil. Coincidentally, we get a book this month. And it is The Complete Book of Incense, Oils, and Brews. Ooh, oh, wow. This is very new. It's crunching. And this is by Scott Cunningham? May the spirits of nature speak to you within your craft. It's basically like a recipe book, but for, you know, witchy stuff. Alright, I built the thing that was in pieces, and it's like, it's an incense holder, but it's beautiful. Look at and it's quality. Hot damn. So this looks like a woman. Very pretty. And yeah, up top you'll put like your, your cone, your incense cone. Before I decide to get into all of this stuff, let's check out the book that I got, which I already know what it is because I chose it. But if you didn't know, Book of the Month, I chose A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I think this one was a debut author. Like, it's their first book. And this one just sounded so amazing. It has a really long description on the inside. What drew me mainly to this book is that I heard that it's kind of like, I think it's like Irish, Celtic kind of inspired. There's going to be fairies and mythology from there, and it's about kids disappearing. And this guy, is it about kids disappearing or kids dying? Yeah, maybe if I stop spewing shit. It starts with a letter and an ominous journey across dark waters. 10 years after being sent away to the mainland to become a bard, Jack Tamerlane is summoned home to Cadence. But his return is not a joyous one. Girls are going missing from the island, and Adara, future leader of the clan, believes Jack is the only one who can find them. Enchantments run deep on Cadence. Gossip is carried by the wind. Plaid shawls can be as strong as armor, and the smallest cut of a knife can instill fathomless fear. The elemental spirits that dwell in every breath of air, splash of water, blade of grass, and flicker of fire find mirth in the lives of the humans. Kidnapping the Tamerlane girls is a step too far, though, and it is only through a bard's music that the intangible spirits can be summoned to explain where the girls are. The girls are disappearing. It's a bard. It sounds very magical. Yeah, it sounds really good. Also, I guess I should say, I got home early, so I am going to sit and read. I have been continuing The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. And I mean, I'm still liking it. It's a slower book, so, and it's such tiny font, and I'm a slow reader, so I'm getting through it. I'm just getting through it with some time. But yeah, I finished work early, so hopefully I'll get, my hope is that I'll get through at least 100 pages today. Like, not on top of what I've already gotten through, because I know myself. It takes me like almost an hour and a half to get through just 50 pages. That's how slow of a reader I am. So we're finally gonna watch Dune, or I'm finally gonna watch Dune after hating the book. But Ryan is really trying to figure out why it's like super like blurry and not good quality. It's like in 480i or whatever that means. I borrowed this from the library, so it's just a DVD and we're playing it on his old ass Xbox. The movie is better than the book. The characters actually had emotions, which I didn't think they had any in the book. Also, it worked better as a movie, because in the movie, it has everything that happened in book 1. Which, you know, most people are like, yeah, that's great for a movie to have everything that's in a book, but it's kind of sad for the book, because you're like, movies usually have to shorten it, so what does that mean? That means the book is boring as shit. But yeah, movie's good. What'd you think, Ryan?
It was a very well managed and well thought out like adaptation to a very, very old book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't go over the top, aside from obviously random actors that they picked, but
oh yeah, they had to put in Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
And David Bautista.
And what's his face from Pirates of the Caribbean? I can't
right.
remember his name.
Me neither. I'm just gonna call him William.
He's William. Yeah, like, they had to add some faces in there. No, I'm pretty sure, like, in Hollywood, there's just, like, a giant bulletin board of shit going on. And obviously...
He's like a bounty board?
Yeah, pretty much. And, like, at some point, there's a couple guys who are like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And it goes from, like, a B-list movie to, like, A-list or C-list to A-list, like, depending on which actors
yeah, which actors set
And I'm kind of happy that they didn't make them stand out like super crazy. Like, obviously,
they basically killed them.
They were main heads in the they were main figures in the movie, but
yeah,
they didn't make them over the top obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job with it, and it was a nice, like, slow paced and thought out movie. It wasn't.
It literally
action all the time.
Well, it literally followed the pace of the book. Like, the book is that slow.
Oh, I thought
But
they did a
a
good
book.
job with it. I thought
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, that's good. Yep. All right, it got Ryan's approval. Good morning. It is February 12th. Babe is currently eating her breakfast, and I just noticed that my hair is turning into like Jim Hawkins' haircut. All I'm missing is like a little braid in the back. That's off topic. I just finished The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. This is the second book in the Wheel of Time series of like 14 books. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. But this book was like a nice chunky 100, really? It's 680 pages, and it took me quite a long time to get through all of it. I started it last month, just finished it this morning. It is a sequel, so I'm going to get into some spoilers about it just because I have thoughts. But in general, this is your typical epic fantasy adventure. I do like how it continues with the characters and how the main character, who's supposed to be a, prophesized hero, but also not really, he doesn't want anything to do with it, and yet he continues to be dragged into it. And I do like how it's written. I mean, the prose, it's beautiful, and the setting of everything, characters, it's really hard to criticize the author and his ability to develop all this stuff because it's really good. But I do think that, and this is something that happens a lot with really long books. I've only read a few books that are very, very long that don't suffer from this, and it's having strange plot devices that seem really convenient or just dragging on and being like, dude, we could have just ended it here. So now I'm going to get into quite a few spoilers. Basically, you start the book with Rand, who was, at the end of the first book, said, I'm going to go because if I stay, I can hurt people, and I don't want to do that. Start the book, he hasn't left. He's still around all of his friends, and he's like, no, I swear, I'm gonna go, I promise. But obviously he ends up staying too long, and by that point, the enemy team, I'm gonna just call it that from now on, the enemy team has stolen things that they need in order to win the ultimate fight that is inevitably going to happen. And one of the things also is his friend Matt, who is a dumbass and took a blade from some ancient city in the first book. And if he is taken away from that blade, if him and the blade are apart, then he will inevitably die a slow, terrible death. So Rand is like, oh fuck, I gotta go, save my friend. And yeah, okay, I guess I'll, retrieve the horn that will summon an army. Why not? Obviously, to make it a good fantasy story, the team doesn't stick together. Things happen. At some point, Rand teleports to... I don't remember exactly how it happened. I think I was maybe a little tired when I was reading this part because I'm like, how the fuck did this even happen? But he ends up in like a parallel world, and it's... like, that part, I was like, this is convenient, because they spend some time in that parallel world. Nothing really happens in there other than them discovering, like, strange monsters and that people aren't there, and I guess it's a type of reality that could happen. They also meet this chick who I'm just like, she's suspicious as hell, and you really don't see much more of her, and she just kind of appears and vanishes whenever she's needed. And, they're in that parallel world. When they get out, they're like, oh, conveniently, we ended up in the perfect place we needed to be in a faster pace than we needed to be. Then, they retrieve the horn, which I thought was hilarious, how they're able to face all these monsters. 3 versus, 50. And I'm like, okay. Then they go to Kerhine, whatever the fuck the town is called. Rand gets involved in a whole bunch of fucking politics stuff, which makes sense because it is still a world and it has its own politics, and there are kings and queens, and you know, he dresses a certain way and they assume he's a lord and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, this whole book, though, I was like, poor Rand. Like, he's really trying to tell people, dude, I am just a shepherd. I am not a lord at all. Just because I have a fancy coat on does not mean I understand your stupid political rambles. But, you know, poor Rand. He's like, shit, I'm being invited left and right, and if I don't accept an invitation, I'm gonna die. Then the horn gets stolen again, you know. Oh, surprise, didn't see that coming. But that part kind of bothered me, because I was like, Huron, whatever his name was, I'm gonna say Huron, the sniffer, weird name, was supposed to be guarding that horn. I get that Rand had been getting, like, a lot of letters and stuff from other lords, but really, like, you just heard a knock on the door and you're like, oh, let me just open that up. Even though Rand and Loyal literally just saw Trollocs nearby, and Huron knew that, and he's just like, oh, that's fine, I'll still just open the door. I don't think it would have mattered anyways, obviously, because if they wanted that horn and the chest, they would have just fucking taken it. They didn't need to knock, honestly. Alright, so then obviously that continues like that, and then they have to try and get the horn back. So they're like, well, let's use those, like, portal stone things again, right? So here's where I get a little frustrated, is that all of this happened, right? All this adventure stuff, all these inconveniences, and this having to overcome the odds, having to keep the things safe, blah, blah, blah. And then they teleport, and Rand does some weird magical shindig thing that teleports them, but they end up teleporting there like 4 months later, like 4 months have gone by. And that was like 100 pages before the book actually ended. To me, it should have ended there. Like, I get that that's kind of a big cliffhanger, but that felt like a good place to end. Because then, what happened for the next 100 pages, I was a little bored. Like, I was like, oh my god, I've already read like 500 something pages, and I really liked this adventure. And then the other 100 pages were like, I feel like those could have been the third book, but, you know, I haven't read the third book, so I don't know. I have to read the whole series, I guess, now, because if I don't read the whole series, then I'm going to criticize things, and people are going to come at me and yell at me and be like, no, but you don't understand. This is why this happened in that book and not in this book. But anyways. Alright, it sounds like I'm really bashing this book, but I really did like it a lot. I mean, I ate it up. I really, like, this is my kind of shit. Adventure, action, magic, people who don't want the responsibilities that they're forced to have. Also, a super gentle giant that just wants to read books. Like, it's a good book. I definitely liked it more than The Eye of the World, which I know I gave like 4 stars. So this one, probably a good like 4.5. The only reason it's not a full 5 is because those last 100 pages to me, I was like, this just feels like a whole other story. Even though obviously it's the same characters and everything, but it just felt like that could have been in the next book. Anyways, I look like shit. I need to take a shower because I got home last night from work and I was just really lazy and didn't feel like doing anything. So my hair is gross. I need to go shower and get on to my next book for February. Right? We're in February. Oh my god, I'm a mess. We are going out to lunch, but I need to return the Great Hunt. And I don't know where to put shit. I look like a Vix girl because my hair is driving me nuts. Hex girl? I thought it was a Vix girl.
No, Hex girl.
Hex girl?
Scooby-Doo, come on.
Sorry. I forgot their name. And they weren't my sexual awakening. But I did start Gregor the Overlander. And man, I remembered it being like cute with boots, but man, did I kind of forget how adorable and how funny it is.
FYI, it is going to be 60 degrees today, but it's going to snow tomorrow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh shit. I stepped outside, I was like, man, it's so warm. Now it's going to snow tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Welcome to the Northeast.
Okay, I know it's a little dark, but it is almost 11 o'clock, still Saturday, and I finished Gregor the Overlander. I was hoping to finish this in a day because it's a middle grade and it's not super long. It's just 300 pages. But I was also scared that I wasn't going to like it as much as I remembered liking it as a kid. And oh boy, I actually didn't even see the time. Usually I go to bed around now. I truly, truly enjoyed rereading this book so much. You know how sometimes, like, you'll hear a song and you remember something that was related to that song, like maybe you went on a road trip, or maybe you were listening to it in your room and you just remember doing something silly or whatever. This book is linked to so many memories of me as a child, and like, I remembered things that happened in this book more than I thought I would, and yet it did not ruin the story in the least. It does move through things pretty quickly, but so do most middle grades, and damn, I forgot how, like, gruesome it gets. Like, people die, and there's betrayal, and there's war, and there's giant spiders sucking, you know, pre-digested organs out of other animals. Like, I get why I turned into what I am. I do. But because this is not a super popular book that I see around very much, I don't want to spoil any of it. So really, I'll just say that to me, it's a very original story on multiple fronts. One, it's a middle grade in which it's, you know, the hero is with his little 2-year-old sister, and I don't know about you, but I tend to see a lot of, like, the hero trope. Most of the heroes have no family, or have lost family, or have to find a family, the found family trope thing. This is the only book I've read in which the hero has his entire family. He just has to find his dad, basically. His dad vanished, and he needs to find him. And I just think it's really well done, especially with how Gregor, like, is so open about his flaws, and also, you know, his qualities that can kind of be flaws, and the way he interacts with all the new things around him. Like, it's very reminiscent of how a kid would probably interact with something. I mean, shit, when they meet the spiders, his first reaction is, oh boy. Oh man. I'm just like, pretty sure if my husband was in that situation, he'd pass out. But yes, I absolutely love this book, and the other unique part of it is obviously that it is underground with, like, the monsters are just real life things, just exponentially increased in size, so that makes them more terrifying. It's gruesome, there is war, there is loss, there are consequences, there are actual high stakes in a middle grade book. So I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. And it's funny. Boots is adorable. I forgot how fucking adorable she is. I poop. I pee. Giggle. Giggle. Diaper. It's cute. I love it. So I'm so glad I finished it. And now all I want to do is pick up the next one, which is The Prophecy of Bane. But I have other books I need to read for the month, so I'll wait on that one. Remember how Ryan said it was gonna snow? It snowed. Alright, I am updating today from the bedroom because there's a lot of noise going on in the living room, so the angle is a little strange. Just come here, lie down with me. Alright, today is Monday, and I finished The Monster of Eldenhaven. Oh my gosh, I have like no room to show this book. So I started reading it on Sunday and got a little lazy, and also couldn't really get into the story very well. Not sure if it's because I was hungover from reading Gregor the Overlander, or if it was just kind of the elements of the story. But I did finish it today. Kind of had to force myself to push through it because it's so short. I was like, I'm not gonna DNF it. And I'm glad I didn't. I did enjoy it, but it has some problems. So basically the story, the way that I understood it before going in, was that it would be about some monster and its sorcerer, like its owner, master, whatever, and that they are essentially trying to get revenge on a city, town that has wronged them in some way, and then there being a mage hunter coming into the story. In a way, this story is about that, but not the way I thought it would be. So, the way the book started is you get introduced to the monster, and he's interesting, and I did like kind of seeing who he was, but it took kind of a long time for anything to really happen. It was like a lot of the beginning of the book was setup and characters and kind of how the monster meets the mage and then how they interact, which there were some moments that I was just like, that's a little cringy. Like, the monster almost immediately after meeting the mage says like sweetheart or something like that to him, and I'm like, that's a little weird. Like, not in like the typical, you know, southern vernacular of saying sweetheart to whoever you come by, just in like a weird way. Anyways, point is, beginning of the book is mostly a lot of character setup, and there's no plot. Like, I didn't know what was actually happening until I got halfway through the book, and I was like, oh, okay, now I see what they're doing and why they're working together, sort of. But then there was like a lot of also just moments where I was like, okay, this story is about two terrible people because they commit atrocities, which is fine. Like, that doesn't necessarily bother me. Basically, they're supposed to be characters that you don't really like. But so they're two terrible people, and then they just kind of kiss from time to time. So I'm like, okay, so is this like a gay couple of villains? And then the whole like getting revenge over the city didn't really make a lot of sense either. Like, it did, but like it was so quickly explained that I was like, all right, sure. And then the mage hunter, that one I was like, okay, I guess just pick a random person sort of thing. Maybe it's because the book is so short that I am criticizing it so much. Maybe it would have been better if it had been longer and I had maybe spent more time understanding why the author made these choices. But a lot of it just kind of felt, to me, honestly, reading this book, I was like, okay, this is more like a folklore type of book. It is like a fairy tale, an awful, gruesome, dark fairy tale about two terrible men who kiss from time to time and who have minor inconveniences here and there, basically. So I don't think it was bad, but I do think it lacked in plot. But the characters were actually quite intriguing, and honestly, the writing was pretty good too. It definitely built the scenery and the town very well. It made it very dark and very awful, really. Like, everything just seemed dead and gloomy, and yeah, like you could just imagine the worst of the worst living there. And I was like, yeah, that's well done. So, not bad, but not great. I think if I were to be fair, I would probably give this book like 2.5 stars. Something along those lines. Anyways, I will be now commencing with The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. I'm a little worried about reading this one, only because I really haven't heard a lot about it. But the little bit that I've heard has been good, so we shall see. I finished The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed, and I really enjoyed this. Basically, it's about a girl called Eva Kay, who is the wolf in this story, technically. She is a pagan girl, a girl raised in a pagan village in a forest. And her mother was pagan, but her father was Yehuli, which is like a different religion, basically. So she is very much shunned, especially since she does not have any magic. So her tribe is very well known for women, girls having magic. And because her father was not pagan, they believe that, that tainted her, so she has no magic. So she is not very well treated. And their village also suffers from having their girls being taken to the king. And the king has woodsmen. Woodsmen are the ones who come to collect the girls every few years. And they have taken a total of like 12 girls. So the woodsmen come around again and they want a seer. Because I guess the king wants to be able to predict their enemies' moves. The village, though, doesn't want to give their youngest seer because, well, she's supposed to... They're very rare, first. And she's supposed to inherit the position of, like, town seer. So the one they have right now is very, very old. Apparently they live a very long life. So instead, they make Eva Kay pretend to be a seer. So they make her look like one, which is, like, white hair, a white wolf cloak, which she's never been allowed to wear because she has no magic. So they take Eva Kay and things happen. Basically, Eva Kay and one woodsman survive a monster attack in the forest, and she learns that the woodsman that she's with is actually the firstborn prince of the king, who's been shunned because I guess his mother was an outsider, and the king just wasn't happy with the impurity of that blood. But technically, he is the heir to the throne. And he wants to help his father, the king, win the war. So they are going on a quest to go find Tarul, which is like a bird that has seer powers, but a lot better. Because a seer can only have visions brought to her. She can't choose to see what she wants, whereas a Tarul can. So they go together to try and go do this quest, I guess, which will benefit Eva Kay because her village will most likely be spared. And, he wants the favor of his father. And also, he doesn't want his father to be killed by his brother, Nandor. Nandor is one of the sons who has been blessed with magical powers. And he believes that he is like a prophet, that he is not only a holy man and a holy son and should be the rightful heir to the throne, but he also kind of believes himself almost like a god. And he wants to rid the world of all other religions except for their patrician religion. So, I really love this book because the whole world itself is very much built in this way that, for me, was like a mirror image of the world during that really big religious struggle between pagans and Christianity and other religions. And it was pretty clear the fantasy religions here and the ones in our reality. So like patrician was kind of the Christian domineering that was like, well, we are superior because we have our one God who is holy and blesses us with powers only if we really deserve it and if we sacrifice ourselves for him. The pagans were very much, woods and matriarchal. And then there was also the Yehuli. So the Yehuli, to me anyways, was pretty clear it was the Jews. And they lived closely with the Christians but were not respected. That's how I saw it. So I thought it was really cool to build this world through a very religious lens. And on top of that, it made the storytelling really amazing. The advancement of the plot and the setting and the understanding of how the world worked was told many times through folklore, through stories of each religion. And some of them, I'm curious if maybe the author used real ones and kind of tweaked them to fit her fantasy religions. I personally thought it was amazing. Like, Eva Kay and Gaspar the Woodsman would be traveling up north to try and find the Tyrol, and they hate each other, and but they have to put up with each other, and their faiths are very different, especially since Ivike, she doesn't really like her village either. They never treated her well. But she still knows all their stories, and the more she tells them, the more she realizes how much of an impact they have on her. Which is interesting because to me, this book felt very much like it was set during medieval times where knowledge was stories, was knowing history. And I mean, it still is today, but people don't appreciate it as much. Anyways, so I thought the writing and the world fucking magnificent. Then the characters, Ivike, Gaspar, Nandor was an amazing, fanatic, I guess, and power obsessed. And even the king, the king actually quite impressed me with how he's written and who he is. And Ivike, obviously, her growth and her understanding of everything around her was really amazing. Really, I kind of wish this book was longer because I wanted to spend more time with these characters. I really did. And their love story was beautiful and it didn't overtake the story in any way, which I like because I do like a good romance story, but I'm more interested in what's happening around and what do they have to face together, and I don't want the drama. I want we're in a shitty situation, so we have to stick it out together. And they're so different, both of them. They work so well. Ivike is just such a angry and impulsive and just brash girl. And Gaspar was definitely the very well, let's think this through first. And kind of the martyr type, I don't want to hurt people. A lot like that. So I love their dynamic. I thought it was wonderful. The only thing, okay, this is going to be a little spoilery part of the book, which is, so they go up north to find the Tyrol, right? And they end up kind of seeing that they're running out of time. They have to go back to, God, I can't pronounce the name of the place. Krazek, whatever. Which is the capital city where the king is. They have to go back by a specific holiday because Gaspar is worried that his brother's gonna kill the king on that day. So they realize they can't find the Tyrol in time, so they have to go back down. And on their journey down, I loved all the monsters that they came across. Specifically, the witch and that weird girl in the forest. The moving trees were so ominous. I loved so much of that. But then, so they go down, and finding the Tyrol ended up being nothing. And then they end up leaving again to go find the Tyrol, right? And they find it, and then shit happens. They get caught in the middle of it, and then the king ends up just cooking the Tyrol, just having fucking, bird for dinner. And that's it. And then the Tyrol ends up killing the king because the visions are too much, and it just fucking kills him, I guess. And I literally sat there, I was like, this fucking bird has been useless. This entire quest, it was literally just a useless quest because the characters ended up solving the problem anyways. But yeah, I loved it. I also loved how I love how the book ended too. It felt so, how would I say this? I don't want to spoil the ending. It was so nice. For me, anyways, as someone who loves history, it was nice to have that ending. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, now that I'm done with this one, oh, it's definitely a 5 stars from me. It is definitely 5 stars. So now let's hope that Harrow the Ninth, which is my next read, which I will start tomorrow morning, let's hope that Harrow the Ninth ends up being just as good. This morning alone has been quite a day. I just gave the dogs a bath, which can be quite an endeavor, but I did get both of them in before 9 o'clock because at 9:30 I have a hair appointment. This is getting fixed. Also, I'm wearing this. It's a fake piercing, but I'm wearing it because I kind of like it. I don't know. I like it. I would like to get the actual piercing. But let me know what you think. Do you think it's weird? I like the middle. You know, a lot of people do the side one. I don't really like that one very much. I like the middle one. It just looks nicer, in my opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I did start Harrow the Ninth. I'm not progressing very well with it. I started it. Ooh, when did I start it? I think I started it on Saturday, and then I was reading a little more of it yesterday, and I've really only gotten like 70 pages in, which is sad because I really am enjoying it a lot. Like, I have been like nonstop. I told my husband, I'm like, this is almost like I'm trying to decrypt some kind of ancient text, because I sit here and I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Really? What the fuck is going on here? Oh, okay, this is what it is. Like, I have so many notes in this thing. So I'm really, really liking it. It's just that I made zero progress. On Saturday, we had friends over for dinner. And then Sunday, I had breakfast with a friend of mine. And when I got home, I was going to bathe the dogs, but other things came up, so I didn't bathe the dogs. Yeah, I have not made a lot of progress with this, but I am really enjoying it a lot. Like, the Locked Tomb books are just so weird, so confusing, and honestly, the way that I approach these books is I'm not trying to make sense of things. I am just approaching it and observing it and going for the ride. I don't need to understand what's happening. I just need to enjoy myself, and that's it. That's what's happening. I'm enjoying myself. Okay, so I am at page 126, and fuck, man. I am so confused, but there have been so many, like, what the fuck moments, and then a lot of just really funny moments, and God's name is John. First of all, there's the fact that this story is being told in a second person point of view. Like, someone is talking about Harrow as if they're not there, but they are. Like, so they're saying, like, you know, you were looking at the Revenant Prince and you felt scared or whatever. That's an example, right? So it's doing a lot of that. And then there are chapters where it's saying, you know, Harrow was looking at the Reverend Prince and she felt, and I'm just like, okay, so some of this is like the present now, and some of this is stuff that happened before, but I don't know exactly when before. And they're like details that I feel like were from book 1 are not the same in this book. So I'm like, did Harrow forget stuff that happened? What the fuck? What the fuck is happening is basically, yeah, that's basically how I'm experiencing everything right now. Like, they're just sentences that make me giggle. Like, here it says, it was only the 4th funeral you had ever been to where you had been responsible for the corpse. Only the 4th. That's fine. That's normal. That's a regular number. Listen, I'm not sitting here pretending that I understand what is happening, because there are explanations of things. Like, they talk about the river. I don't know if it's an actual river, because it's supposed to be someplace where, like, the dead go. Like, it's where you'll find a bunch of ghosts and spirits, and technically you can't even go in there other than these specific lictors. But I'm like, is it a river in space? How does that work? Also, I thought it was more metaphorical, but then they're in there and the ship fills with water. But I'm like, but it's a ship. It's in space. It shouldn't have any, you know, leaky holes, right? I mean, listen, I'm no scientist, but My point is that I'm really enjoying this book, and I just wanted to share that I am like, this is how far I am into the book. That's it. And I am already like, what the fuck? So, yeah, it's going good so far. The emotion that I'm sitting with right now after finishing that book is, what the fuck? That's it. That's all I can really describe it as. But if you don't want to know, like, anything at all that happens in the second book, because some things, I guess, might kind of, yeah, it'll spoil some of the first book. But if you're okay knowing a little bit, then this should be safe. So Harrow the Ninth is, it takes place right after what happened in the first book, Gideon the Ninth, and Harrow has become, or it's... At first, I thought she was a lictor, but I guess the more you read, you're like, wait, so she's not a full lictor? And I don't really know exactly what constitutes a lictor, but whatever. The point is, she's now with the Emperor of all the 9 houses, and he explains kind of why he needed lictors, and it's because there are these giant monsters that were born during the Great... Resurrection, was that it? I forgot what it was called, but basically there was a big boom in space, and like 9 of the original planets turned into giant monsters that now eat other planets, and he has been chased by them because he has special magic powers, I think, and they are eating other planets on their way to him, and yeah, he needs help, basically. All I know is that there's a river, whether that is an actual river or a metaphorical river or a weird fucking Milky Way space river, I know that there are souls that go there, ghosts. And lictors, like, no one can travel through it except for lictors, but they also can't travel through it very safely. You have to, like, leave your body or something to go in there. I know the river had some... It was very important in this story. What exactly happened in there, I have no fucking idea. I think. I don't... Listen, everything about this book was, I know what happened, but I also don't. Most of the time, if this happens in a book, if I'm like, I have no idea what happened, I usually will not enjoy this book. But because I didn't know, like, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening, but I also knew what was happening, and then there's the humor, and then there's the writing, and then there's just the overall characters, I just really enjoyed reading Harrow the Ninth. I don't know how else to explain it. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed how much I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then 2 seconds later thinking that I knew and being like, oh, okay. And then like another 2 seconds being like, but wait, this is not what happened. What the fuck? There were a lot of what the fuck moments, and I enjoyed it. And it's very clear, like, the first book was kind of what the fucky. The second book is really what the fucky. And I can only expect the third book to be even more what the fucky. Because it's just getting... Oh, gosh. I can definitely see why these books can be favorites for a lot of people. Like, amazing. They are for me, anyways. I don't know how Tamsin Muir writes this, honestly. She baffles me in her ability to keep track of the shit she writes. But I can also see why some people would just be like, no, I do not like this book. Because it messes with your brain. This part's going to be a little spoilery because I'm going to talk about why this wasn't a full 5 stars, and it does kind of give away some stuff that happens in the book. And it's, so the book is written in second person a bit, and then it flips to third person. And when it flips to third person, it's usually Harrow, like, living a memory of what happened in the first book. But the problem is that her memories exclude Gideon. She's not in them. She's not at the Canaan house with her. It's Ortis. Ortis, the fucking cavalier that sucked, that she was like, nah, I'm not taking you to the Canaan house, I'm gonna take Gideon. So it was very confusing. It was very confusing that was happening, but it also indicated that, like, something was wrong with her. Now, I'm not saying that those chapters were bad. I think they were fine. I just think that there were too many of them. So having a couple of them helped understand that Harrow's memories were lost in a way or altered or something was going on, and it makes you suspicious of like what happened to her. But sometimes the chapters were just confusing as hell. Like, you're already trying to understand what the fuck is happening in present time, and then you get these chapters that are supposedly, you know, memories of what happened in the first book. But information is thrown at you and you're just like, am I supposed to remember this information? Is this false information? Like, the book's already confusing, and having those chapters with false information just made it that much harder. And sometimes they were really long, so my brain was just like, I can't. Like, it took so much brain power to read this book in the first place that having those extra chapters, I personally feel like made it a lot harder to read, and they didn't seem as necessary, at least not the amount of which we got. Like, a couple of them was good to give us context of Harrow's situation, but some of them I was just like, I feel like names are being said and I don't care about these names or about what they're doing. So yeah, that's the only downside, I'd say. Now, the ending of the book, I barely really understood what happened. So Harrow was possessed by a ghost called the Sleeper, and I know she's in the river. I don't even remember how she gets there. I don't remember how Gideon ends up taking control of her body. I don't even know what happens to the beast. All I understand is that at the end you're kind of learning that Gideon is actually the daughter of the Emperor, and it's just, that whole ending, I was like, what? But the ending, the very ending, where Harrow, or I'm assuming that Gideon and Harrow are both alive. Gideon, you know, obviously there's the last couple sentences of her chapter where it's her getting chest compressions. So I'm like, okay, she's getting resuscitated. Harrow has these weird, like, flashbacks, but also not, like, I saw it as a movie almost, where she emerges from the river and somehow emerges from the pool where she had been with Gideon in the first book, and then she ends up walking into the tomb, and then she goes to the tomb and the body's not there. There's Gideon's sword and her filthy magazines, which I thought was fucking hilarious, and she lays down in the tomb with Gideon's sword. So I'm like, okay, either Harrow is now completely lost somewhere, or it's like a metaphor where they will be back together again. And then there's the epilogue. Now this part fucked with me, because you've got Camille, who we know is with the Blood of Eden, which we really don't know much about the Blood of Eden. Like, what the fuck are they, other than people who don't like necromancers and I guess were more troublesome to the Emperor than anything else? But you've got this person, right? So it's said from the perspective of another person who is describing a world that looks nothing like what we've experienced so far in either book, with like cars and guns and some kind of, you know, riot infantry or whatever. And she asked Camille, have you figured out who I am now? So my theory is that person is either the body that was in the tomb, which I'm assuming is Alecto, I think. So I think that that's Alecto, and she's with the Blood of Eden. Yeah. Those are a lot of spoilers. So I hope you skip this if you didn't read the book. But yeah, this book fucked with me. But I really enjoyed it. And I cannot wait for Electo the Ninth to come out. Because, is it Electo or is it Nona? Nona the Ninth. I don't even know who the fuck Nona is. Shit. Fans of this series must have been so upset that they had to wait this long for Nona the Ninth to come out, and it's not even out yet. I'm already upset. I'm like, I just want to pick it up. I want to fucking understand what's happening. Since I finished that, I have gotten started in my March TBR, so I started reading Promises and Pomegranates, which is a dark romance. I'm actually currently about 30% through it. I've been reading it on my phone. I started it a little when I was reading Harrow the Ninth, because sometimes it's easier to pick up my phone, especially when I'm at work and like I'm not really doing very much, but I still need to be a little attentive. I just start reading it a little bit. So, about 30% into it, and I'm not really liking it. I know that I'm not a usual romance reader, so some people are probably just like, well, why the fuck do you read romance if you're not a romance reader? That's a fair point. But, you know, sometimes I do like having my dirty romances. And that's what I thought this was going to be, and it is, but it's so poorly written. It is so poorly written. The amount of times I have literally, I'm highlighting while I read. I have highlighted the word dick, cock, pussy, and like, I don't know. There's another one that I keep highlighting. Ass or something, or juices. I don't know. I keep highlighting those words. Like, it's at least five of each of those words per chapter. I'm not against using strong language or even crass language. That's fine. But the way that these words are used and the general phrasing of things in this book just makes it a lot less dark adult romance that I can connect with, and makes it a lot more teenager amateur pornography wannabe. And I don't like that. Also, the plot fucking sucks. The plot is literally just bending itself so they have to have sex. And the girl is stupid, and the guy is even more stupid, and I don't like it. I'm not liking it at all so far. Even the like sexy parts, I'm just like, this is not sexy. It's not. Like, it makes me cringe more than anything else. Am I going to finish it? Maybe. I don't know. Again, it's easy. It's on my phone, so I'm probably just gonna like pick it up from time to time while I read through other stuff. So, because I'm not enjoying it that much, I am going to get started on The Liar's Knot, because that is a chunky book, and I did pick it for the readathon, and I would like to get through a good portion of it so I can finish it during the readathon. So yeah, I'm gonna pick that one up. Hopefully give me a break from the what the fuckiness of Harrow the Ninth and the what the fuckness of Promises and Pomegranates.
Hello. It is February 28th, the end of the month, and thus the end of this monthly vlog. We are joined by Toothless, my cat, who we do not get to see very often, but I'm about to go to bed, and he's very used to hanging out with me before bed, getting a lot of snuggles and cuddles and scritches and pets. So, just a little update about the end of this month. I got 50-ish pages into The Liar's Knot. And I'm already really enjoying it. I love being back in the whole Rook and Rose world. I did get 30% into Promises and Pomegranates. That one feels like it's going to be a little tougher for me to enjoy. I'm probably going to finish it, probably not going to DNF it just because it's on my phone and I can pull it out and read a little bit of it and then put it down whenever I feel like it. But we shall see. Anyways, I hope your month of February went well. Let me know anything you read in February, how you felt about it, and I hope your month of March, thank you, Kitty, I hope your month of March goes really well. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, the usual algorithm stuff, and I will see you guys next month. Bye.